And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on with our panel discussion that is on data clean room, secure and agile chamber for data collaboration. So for this, I would request Ms. Ronak Parekh, Head of Data and Technology Wavemaker India, to please join me here. Ladies and gentlemen, she'll be the session chair for the panel discussion. We have with us Ms. Anisha, Senior Manager, Martech, Luminous India, Mr. Abhishek Jain, Marketing Science, Lead Google, Ms. Swastika Jory, Head IT, E-commerce, Digital Marketing and Data Reckitt, Mr. Nimish Agarwal, Senior Vice President, Head. Then we have amongst us Mr. Tabriz Alam, Chief Data and Strategy Officer, Data Strategies, Wobble AI. Can we have you, please? Well, ladies and gentlemen, some great insights will be waiting for you. And Ms. Parekh is our session chair. Ma'am, I request you to please open the panel discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Adgali and everyone. So today we're here to discuss the panel around data clean rooms, a secure and agile chamber for data collaboration. So just to kick it off, some statistics for the room. According to Gartner, predicts that 80% of the marketers with media budgets of more than $1 billion will adopt data clean rooms by 23, which is year end now, so it's not very, very distant. 87% of Indians have concerns actually around organizations, the way they're using sensitive information, so privacy is a huge concern. 84% of Indian consumers prefer brands and organizations and what they are doing and the efforts they are taking to protect their data. So this is of paramount importance as far as consumers are concerned. So with that, we kick off the discussion and how data clean rooms have a play in this area. So I would want to start with Tabriz, since you are at the other side of the table. What is your 60-second elevator pitch in favor of data clean rooms for all the clients sitting here?
Thanks, Ronak. Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon. I think Vishal Jacob has sort of explained what data clean room is, but let's put it in a very layman language. What data clean room is. So today, if somebody wants to hoard any sort of money outside India, where do you go? Where you have all the privacy that your name will not be disclosed, your identity will not be disclosed. Can anyone say where the money is hoarded in the world? Sorry? Swiss Bank, right? So clean room is just a Switzerland of data, right? Nothing else. You hoard your data in a most privacy compliant manner so that it's not being sort of revealed to anyone. The best part is, in this, it's like a very secure chamber. You have two doors. I'm just giving a very basic definition just to give the comfortability of this clean room. So you have one bench in between. There's one person who comes in. It can be an advertiser. It can be a publisher who has data with them. They sit at the chamber, within the chamber at the desk. They meet, they decide, they match the data, and then they decide which data needs to be taken out in the most privacy compliant manner. So this is how we're doing. Now we need to understand why there's a need for this clean room is, right? And that is something which is now sort of a necessity with the advancement of how ad IDs are crumbling in the forms of dominoes. If you've seen Apple ATT framework, if you've seen depreciation of cookies, there's less which is left in terms of drawing in analytics on a campaign performance, reaching out to the right audiences. So it's like, if you even talk about, innovative solution like, connected TVs, DOOH, there's a cross identity, resolution which is lacking over there. There's nothing which is available. So what happens? What is that we are trying to do? Because, digital is once again back to the clean slate. So we need to have, different data sets marrying each other in a clean room. And once this collaboration is done, like Vishal said, in a most privacy compliant manner, we have lot of solutions which can be made available in terms of tracking, in terms of analytics, in terms of targeting. So I think that has become a necessity, and there are a lot of brands I've seen who have understood the real meaning of data clean rooms, and they're trying to they're happy to share their data on the clean room, their first party data with second party and third party, so that they derive some meaningful analysis out of those. So I think there's more about comfort uh, there's nothing like, is going to be shared with anyone, which is like Vishal said that, while we are sharing it with Google, we always have a thread that, it might be used outside the Google. Nothing is Google for that, right? Because we all have learned while we activate a phone or while we activate an account, we are giving out everything to them. So it's quite acceptable. So I feel this as the brand are really comfortable, advertisers are comfortable in terms of using a clean room.
Sure. Cool. Now, moving to the other side of the table for all of you, and maybe we can start with you, Nimish. See, customer privacy is one of the biggest concerns, right? Everyone's talking about it, right? And I would love to have all your perspectives in terms of what each of your organizations are doing in this space, right?
Um, See, in our parlance, from a health insurance industry standpoint, still 85% of the business is offline. It's just 15% of the business. So one of the biggest challenge for us is that how do we sensitize our people to understand what GDPR is? Because I don't think in our country that understanding is very democratic in nature. And the nature of the business is such that these 85% people, most of them are advisory business, which means they're speaking to an agent, they're speaking to a relationship manager of a bank. And this industry has 40% attrition. So when the customer or the employee or the agent moves out, the data moves out with him. And because there are 27 players as we speak competing for that lead, okay, that becomes an open source. So one of the biggest challenge that we are facing as an industry and as a company is that how do we make people understand that it is not okay to send information over an email? How is it very important not to use WhatsApp? So what we've done internally is that we have created a center of excellence on consumer experience. Every application that is logged in the Niva Bupa ecosystem has been given a anonymous ticket ID. The communication to the customer or anybody outside the ecosystem is done by that center of excellence. You can quote a ticket ID that my customer needs a health insurance policy. Neither you can quote the name, nor email ID, nor any other information, because we also sit on a lot of information which is sensitive from a medical standpoint. So we've created a center of excellence. And now that center of excellence is the sole point of contact. Let's view it as a data lake from a customer experience standpoint. And this Spock or these set of Spocks are the one who trigger communication. So coming back to the question, Ronak, I think a lot of these things happened in Europe. And as marketers work on a lot of platforms which are global platforms, we are forced to understand what data privacy is. But my guy in the field, for him, he's not sharing with his friend. That is data privacy. So I think a democratic understanding of what data privacy is and what is okay and what's not okay still needs a lot of conversation.
Evangelization. Cool. What about you, Swastika? From a record perspective, because you also have a lot of industries which are around healthcare and so on and so forth. So how do you manage that?
Basically, first thing you need to understand is where you are in the journey of, structuring your data, storing your data, yeah? So we actually have embarked on the journey of, getting first-party data for all our brands. And because earlier it was like, because we operate in different BU concept, different brands, different websites had, data in silos. And to, do any market activation, what was happening was we were, kind of transferring data from, one data storage, pushing it to, the walled gardens. But I mean, it was like not a right thing to do, right? Hence, what we did was, first of all, brought CDP in, yeah? But CDP also doesn't, solve for our attribution, our, measurement of how my campaigns are doing. And because we work across networks, it's very difficult to, gain insights out of all the market activations we are doing. Hence, I think something like a data clean room would solve for the brands who are little, in the middle of the journey. And because these days privacy is becoming very big, users' trust is definitely, is required, which I think a data clean room will solve for. So we are heading towards that. Of course, as I said, we've just launched CDP, and then now we are looking at, looking at how we can really personalize experiences with things like DCO, etc., which is not possible if you are not very structured in the data, data journey. Hence, yeah, data clean room, CDP,
So
etc.
I think one of the
should
things
solve
you're
for.
highlighting is the structuring of data, because
Yes.
you have a huge portfolio of brands to manage from a record
Yes,
standpoint.
yes.
Moving on to you, Anisha, you have a very unique business as far as
Yes.
Luminous is concerned. So how would that be different for you?
So for Luminous, it's a very low involvement category. Firstly, it's inverters, batteries, and we've also started solar solutions. So it's not a category that it's not a product or a service that people will seek out on a monthly basis. So for me, collecting my customer data is important because right from them adopting a power backup system, how can I use them in the due course of time to help them upgrade to a solar solution? So as everyone was saying here, any company right now who has started the journey of digital transformation, the data is sitting in silos. So in our organization, we'll have one set of data sitting on only power backup with one particular team. Another team is sitting with solar data. We have another team that is talking about connected products, so we can even track the way the product is being used. That is a completely different kind of data set. It's not related to the product or the customer, but how it is getting used. And that information may not be necessary from a marketing standpoint, but from an R&D standpoint, right? So privacy is extremely important, not just from understanding who the customer is, where they've purchased from, but also how they're using it. So a data clean room becomes critical over here, because even within the organization, I'm not even talking about outside the organization, even within the organization, all of this data needs to be shared, but at the same time, we need to maintain privacy, because a person who has purchased my product from an offline channel and has started using it, it's a connected product, has only consented to share data related to how the product is being used, but may not have necessarily shared consent to how I can remarket or how I can, come back to them with better offerings for another category of mine.
Right.
So this entire journey is something that, as a legacy brand, we have started at least talking about it, and it is a journey. It is a place that we are in right now, and it will only increase, like the conversations will only increase within the organization with time.
So for you, I think one of the themes which is emerging is data silos, and how do you
Yes.
sort of leverage it across various business units or SBUs or whatever it is.
Right.
So very interesting themes emerging. So I just want to understand that this also entails a lot of structural changes at your organization, whether it's Reckitt, whether it's Luminous, whether it's Niva Bupa. So where do you see structures like this sitting, and how do you sort of ensure that this sort of gets evangelized or democratized across your organizational structure? Because this is just not, a marketing mandate. It has ramifications on sales. It has ramifications on insights. It has ramifications on research, right? A lot of other areas. So if all of you could just, shed some light in this area, that how do you see, because it's very, very complex to get everyone to work together in something like this. So, yeah.
So there are certain steps that we are taking as an organization, so that people understand the importance of data, and unfortunately it wasn't like this before. It was not thought of. We are more focused on, let's drive primary sales, let's drive secondary sales. So coming from that kind of an organization, moving into this space, we have to have more people, and we are in the journey of getting more and more people who speak this language and are able to have these conversations right from top to bottom, so that as an organization we are moving towards it. It's not just in theory. So for us to build a team that focuses on data analytics, basically a data studio, is very important. So we are in the journey of it. It's very, very early, but we do see something dramatic happening over the next few months. At least this year, this is the focus for us. So having a team that is sitting at HO, that is talking to multiple stakeholders, different teams, different departments, different business units is extremely important from this perspective.
From a record perspective?
Yeah. So as I said, we have moved to CDP, considering, the privacy factor, the criticality of, not exposing data to people, because it used to sit on laptops, etc. And it was a major concern, yeah. We had even issues, people leaving and the data getting lost and stuff like that. Yeah, so definitely privacy is something we are, very, thoughtful of. And as Reckitt globally, we have got some consultants to ensure, everybody talks the same language from a user privacy perspective. So one of the leading, agencies was involved to understand where we are in the privacy journey and how, in the organization we ingrain this thought that, the user privacy should be on topmost, importance. And it's really, we are not, from an India perspective, we are not, very, very, strict on GDPR compliance, but as Reckitt, we are, yeah. We are already on the journey of, ensuring the consents we take from users are, absolutely for all the brands, and we talk same language on all our digital assets, etc., to ensure the privacy is on, topmost agenda for Reckitt, yeah.
Yeah. So, Nimish, from your business perspective, what would happen is once you get the lead, the fulfillment becomes very, very critical, right? So, what sort of orchestration happens at a Niva Bupa level? So, you did speak about the center of excellence, that is one. But just if you could tell us about the process, right from the lead generation to how it gets converted into sales, and what sort of infrastructure supports that sort of fulfillment would be interesting to understand.
Have you watched this movie Lagan? So what happened in Lagan, that when you hit a ball, everybody starts running, irrespective of where you are standing on the field. But we are more structured than that. So what happens is that there are different business units. There's a digital business unit which I also lead, along with leading the marketing for the company, where the attribution is far more stronger. So what happens is, depending upon different channels of orchestration, it could be a paid, it could be organic, it could be affiliate, it could be social, it could be inbound, okay? So because the attribution is very clear, of course there is cross attribution, but that's a problem that we're still working on. What happens is once the lead gets logged in, given the nature of our industry, while Policy Bazaar is the largest aggregator, but it's not digital, it's essentially telesales. So once the lead logs in, और Policy Bazaar ने काफ़ी लोगों को काफ़ी बिगाड़ भी दिया है, वो lead भर के बैठ जाते हैं. They are sure that in 10 minutes somebody is going to call. So unfortunately, all of us also have to give them that facility of calling people. So it essentially is digital prospecting, but teleclosure. So what happens is that the lead gets filled online through various channels, different landing pages, etc. But the teleclosure happens, and once the teleclosure happens, in few cases we have to insist on a medical checkup. In most of the cases, we assume that the person is healthy, like all of us assume, and underwriting and policy issuance, etc., takes place. All our servicing is digital. 99% of our servicing is digital. 99% of our renewals are digital. 100% of our renewals are digital. It doesn't matter whether it is online or offline. The challenge comes when we are talking about offline. So there we are pseudo. So what happens is, till the time the applicant is logged, let's say I'm an agent and I have logged an application in Niva Bupa for a specific policy, we have now evangelized our own app to the advisors, bank assurance partners, etc., etc. And we now insist that all the applications have to be logged through that app. And once that happens, we're 75% there, and there's a lot of incentives going around on that part of it. So 75% of our offline is also digital now. So that's the process, and then system takes
So
over.
it's a lot more seamless, that's the sense we got. Tabri is now moving to you, Bubbles, very interesting as a partner to us at Wavemaker and Group M. What propelled you to enter into the clean room space, right? And it'd be interesting for us to, if you could share with us some insights of what are the use cases, you're trying to solve for marketeers. That'll be interesting for us to know.
Sure. The only reason I felt, because I've been working into data space for almost a decade now, I realized that data has always been treated as a commodity, right? There's nothing actionable which is coming out of data, even though we promise a lot of things, but it doesn't happen, right? We talked about audiences, we were just talking offline. Marketers feel that, once they have an access to audiences, they feel like they have a little genie in hands, that, everything would be converted and, sort of coming back to them once they start using the audiences. What I realized is that, until and unless the data has, the entire journey which has been sort of written out to it, it is not going to happen in the way we are thinking it to be. So what I realized is that, Wavemaker or Group M is trying to, establish that thing. That propelled me, that, that aspiration of creating more out of data came into my mind, because we also sit on a first party data, we have created our own CDP. But how do other people evangelize on this data is until unless we don't marry this data, right? So I was just hearing about O2O being like digital out here. So offline to online is the biggest challenge for any marketers right now. If you look at that, you collect a lot of phone numbers or email addresses and other stuff. So that basically, there's a need for data in, identity resolution which is required. Because there's an interest which came from a customer which is collected offline, but how do I reach him online? So that marriness can happen only in a data clean room. And with the Wavemaker being catering to so many clients, it is inevitable that, let's bring that solution in a most compliant manner, because the client will not have that faith coming to me directly. Probably, you have established a clean room, even I have a clean room, but that's not a neutral clean room. Somebody has to think why, because they'll say, oh fine, Bobble has their own environment and they have their own clean room, still I can have a lot of data vulnerabilities. So there's always a neutralization which is required. And that neutralization is coming from you guys. And it solves a purpose for people like him in terms of, converting the offline to online identifiers, which is identity resolution. Then, probably Racket is collecting a lot of data. They have their own CDP, right? For instance, she was just telling about CDP. That CDP of mine, that CDP of her, probably, can't help her in terms of, just not managing the click-through data that they collect, but also in terms of allocations of the budgets to different mediums. So if I can enrich her data saying, okay, your Racket customers, basis our match, are most available on Facebook or YouTube, there's no point spending money on some other platform, because that is where they're spending their time. So media allocation becomes very crucial out here. It's very far control, if I had to say. So that is, I think, has compelled, and I think this is a good solution for not only sort of creating the analytics or customer info, but I think it's more sort of evolved in terms of understanding the enrichments of our own customers. I'll give an example to quote that. It takes a company in a first-party data environment to build a personalization tool for their own customers, right? So let's say, example, Zomato, for instance. I download an app. It will take another 60 days for Zomato to understand my preferences. But what if I can give that hyper-localization to him, because I know this customer persona well in advance, and I can create a sort of a predetermined persona for this user. Hey, I know because on Google and other places, this guys are actually looking out for South Indian food or Chinese food. Why don't you just start with him, right? Sure. So that is the beauty of clean rooms, is that, everybody is helping out each other in a collaborative manner. And then the data out is as per the preferences.
So if I can ask you, what sort of revenue would be you looking at as a partner from this as a work stream?
A very early stage to comment, but if you look at the global revenues, they're far-fetched high when talk about live ramps of the world, or you talk about clear codes of the world, because I think the Western market has already evolved. The European markets who are adapting GDPR in a very firm manner, CCPA in US. I think they have adapted to clean room, and the revenues are far more higher. India still, we are just moving to that stage where we have a transformation from audiences. Everybody has a position about my data, my data, my data, but nobody owns the data, right? What is your first party data is the first party data for me as well. Let's understand that. So, you can have also the same customer, I can also have the same customer. There's no point keeping that into the pocket, right? Let's utilize that customers in the most non-intrusive manner, yeah? So that is where I see the revenues are going to go up once, brands and marketers, get out of that, sorry, I'm using that word. When they get out of this mindset, obviously there would be a far more personalization which is going to happen in a more compliant manner. And I think the people who are expert in doing so, like agencies and experts of digitals, right, would be able to utilize the data better for analytics as well.
Sure.
So I think this is going to grow for sure.
Cool. As we are, ending towards closure, have you guys used, because, there are two types of clean rooms, as, Vishal also mentioned, media clean rooms, and neutral, I think, is a little too early. What has been your experience as far as usage is concerned? Have you seen merit if you've used Google's ADH or Amazon's Marketing Cloud? If you could just throw a little bit of light on that, any of you?
I mean, as Reckitt, we've not used any data clean room as yet. And I think it's in talks only. I mean, it's very
Not even
initial
a media
stages.
clean room? Not even a media clean room?
Not even media clean room, but we do use Amazon, Marketing Cloud. And there we definitely get advantages of, for example, for e-commerce, we look at, uh, analysis on keywords, what bid is winning, etc., and it gives us a lot of insight in terms of, which keyword to go after, what bid, etc., but not in the digital space as
Sure.
much. Yeah.
Same. So we've not used it actively till now, but we are exploring certain platforms.
We've
and
already pitched it to you.
Yes, and we are exploring that, as I said. And once again, saying the same thing, that where are we in the journey, and do we have the right people within the organization who can do it? Because just to say yes, take on, and then not find the result that we are seeking will be very discouraging for anybody then.
Sure.
So,
Nimish, what about you? I think your category is very, very ripe for the usage of a media clean room. Or
I see the
a,
pitch. But I'll tell you, I've very interesting experiment with Google we did. Okay. Now the prima facie understanding is that anybody who's in the BFSI space, specifically insurance, he'll be a financial freak, stock market, Bitcoin. So that's the kind of custom audience that we typically go after. What we've done is that with Google and their clean room, we injected our first party data. People who've come to our website, people who've dropped a lead, and people who have spent a certain amount of time looking at a certain kind of a product. And we asked them that, before we do any campaigning, why don't you help us understand inciting part of it? Because that's, there are three essentially use case, which I'll also allude to them. One is insight, second is campaign analytics, and third one is because you also have access to somebody else's first party data in an anonymous manner, what Tabriz was talking, you now have a larger data pool to play with. So we started with the first use case, which is inciting. And to our surprise, people who were showing interest in health insurance, people who were looking at Niva Bupa or erstwhile Max Bupa's product, also happened to be luxury travelers. Wow. Now, in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't have thought. And we said, okay, let's run a campaign on luxury travelers. We started with a certain cohort. We gave it certain kind of resourcing. The VTR, the 75% and 100% watch-through rates were outstanding. This, and if I look at the number of people who skip my ad on a financial cohort versus the number of people who skipped my ad on a luxury traveler segment, was chalk and cheese. So we did the use case of inciting, then campaign analytics, and performance.
That's like dispelling a lot of myths, right? Yeah. You would go with the convention.
Interesting point which Nimish has said, right? We only rely on post-campaign analytics, right? But Clean Room gives an advantage of pre-campaign analysis as well to understand where we want to reach, right? Then cohorting is something which is a very predictive in terms of nature depending on the Clean Room. So I think insight to activation is what currently exists in silos. Sure. But clean room can help that, solve that problem. You have in-house under one hood inside to activation, which is available to you.
So just now for closure, if we could start from you, where would clean rooms be in your hierarchy of importance or focus, right? So yeah.
So, yeah, okay. So, hearing all the use cases and very similar use cases at Luminous as well, Clean Room definitely is in the top 3 for us. We are collecting first-party data because we've just launched a new e-shop website, which is a hyper-local experience website, and we are collecting audience data. This is not just people who are purchasing from us, but also the ones who are coming onto our website. So how can we share that information, and how can we find interesting insights like who are the people who are purchasing inverters? Are they also the ones who are purchasing or are interested in certain segments that we may never have thought of? We typically have, as even Tabrez was saying, that we are focused on post-campaign analysis. From a pre-campaign perspective, can we understand that are we targeting the right audience? Are we looking at the right kinds of people? Are we in the right medium itself? We are thinking of news and sports as the common interest of people who are in this category. Can we diversify that a lot more? So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think data clean rooms would be, as she said, top 3, yeah, of course. Because we have talked to different partners, can you enrich our data? Can you enrich our data? But the thing is, sharing that data becomes really, we have to really give it a thought. Whether should I send my PII data? How do I send it, etc. And hence, I think, data clean room would be the solve for that. I mean, because third-party, cookies are diminishing, and we need to, have our first-party data, have insights about our audiences, etc. So definitely, on top 3 here.
See, I was having a chat with my good friend Mansi around the third booster dose. Data clean room right now is a booster dose concept. It is maybe not most efficient. There are issues around it, and maybe I'll talk about it a little bit. But you don't have an option. Chrome is going to sunset cookies in 23. Earlier date was March, now it's September. But it's already happened on Firefox. It's happened on Safari. So how do you actually make your digital marketing work for you? There's no other option as of now. But there are a couple of big caveats for clean rooms. The first one is they're prohibitively expensive. They're very expensive. Second, especially the media clean rooms, are walled gardens. I don't have a love for Facebook or Meta. I love my job and my consumer, right? But if I'm gonna get into a clean room or a media clean room as it's called with Google, how do I do frequency cap to Meta? Like for example, the biggest problem for DV360 is that between Meta, Google, and Hotstar, I'm unable to use it for what it was sold from a concept standpoint, that you can maximize reach and put a frequency cap. So some of this interoperability of data is an issue that the data clean room, but like booster dose evolve, I'm hoping this will be solved.
Yeah, and neutral planning as well, which will really drive media efficiencies, is something I would like to add.
Your thoughts, Tabrez?
I think it's going to be a must in coming days. There's no other solution which is available. If you're really looking out for a precise expenditure at X, which is going to happen. And Nimish, I mean, trust me, I can assure you one thing, that is not going to be expensive, and that's the reason we're saying get out of the walled gardens and start using, Wavemakers and other people, like as a neutral clean room.
Wavemaker.
Yeah, no. That's the reason we are saying participating together, right? It's collaboration is the key for success in the new economy. So we can come, you can come, we marry data, we explore that, and I think it's going to be something which is going to be adaptive. People, big brands have already started feeling a need of it. They have already started. You're aware about that, and I see a lot of positives coming out of this. And solution-based, advantage which clients are going to get out of it.
Thank you.
And I think, Ronak, the first movers should get advantage of, the commercial angle.
Thank you so much. Once again, big round of applause for our panelists. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was quite an insightful discussion on data clean rooms. Thank you so much for sharing this trendy technology with us.